You've been told the world is fixed, that life just happens to you, but this audiobook reveals a deeper truth. Reality bends to the shape of your consciousness. You are here because you're ready to remember the life you seek has been seeking. Introduction. You, the reality shift. Introduction. Beyond this veil of words lies a current of truth, primordial and eternal, whispering through the hidden vaults of time. It is the silent compass of ancient monarchs and mystics, artists and alchemists, a truth obscured not by secrecy, but by the eyes that look for it in the wrong direction. You now stand before a sacred threshold, not to learn something new, but to awaken to what your spirit has always known, the world as you know it, the rooms you inhabit, the conditions that constrain you, even the identity you wear like a garment is not as fixed as it seems. Reality is not solid stone, but living breath shaping itself to the contours of your awareness. This is not a metaphor, it is the hidden framework upon which all of existence rests. Many wander through life, ensnared in illusion, mistaking the dream for the dreamer. They move like shadows cast by forces unseen, believing they are at the mercy of fate. But you are not a pawn in this cosmic game. You are the hand that moves the piece, and the rules, they were etched into the ether by your own forgotten will. These teachings are echoes of an ancient lineage passed not through doctrine, but through vibration, quiet transmissions from those who have remembered the true nature of reality. The words you now encounter are not here to be studied, they are here to awaken something vast within you. With every page you turn, the veil grows thinner, the seemingly random alignments of your life will begin to glow with deeper meaning. What once appeared as hardship will reveal itself as hidden initiation. Each event, each meeting, each moment conspiring to lead you here. You are not here by accident. The presence of these words before you is a signpost from the infinite. Whisper from the universe that the time of forgetting is over. What you seek has always been seeking you. Part 1, The Awakening, Seeing Through the Veil. Chapter 1, The Mask of the Part 1, The Awakening. World. In the bustling marketplace of an ancient city, Thomas arranged his wares. Each morning, just as he had done for 20 years, the familiar rhythm of his days felt as solid as the cobblestones beneath his feet. Yet one morning, as he set out his spices and silks, something peculiar caught his eye. The shadow of his merchant's cart fell in the wrong direction, opposite to the rising sun. He blinked, and the shadow returned to its proper place. But the moment had shaken him. In the days that followed, Thomas noticed more irregularities. Words on his ledger would shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. Customers appeared to flicker like candlelight as they passed his stall. The very fabric of his reliable world seemed to be unraveling at its edges, revealing glimpses of something vast and unknowable behind the familiar tapestry of existence. From the moment of birth, you have been taught to see the world through lenses crafted by others. Your family, society, and experiences have woven a web of beliefs so intricate that you mistake it for reality itself. These beliefs are not true, they are agreements, collective dreams that humanity has accepted without question. Like Thomas, you may begin to notice the cracks in this shared illusion, moments when the curtain parts to reveal a deeper reality. Your mind has been programmed to perceive limitations where none exist. The very language you use shapes the boundaries of your possible experience. When you say I can't, it's impossible, or that's just the way things are, you are not stating facts, you are casting spells that create your experience. In a quiet village lived Dorothy, a widow who believed her life had ended with her husband's passing. For 3 years, she lived in the shadow of her loss, seeing only closed doors and empty rooms. One morning, gazing at her reflection she noticed something strange. Her face seemed to shimmer as though it were a mask she could remove. At that moment, she realized she had been wearing the identity of the grieving widow like a costume, one she could choose to take off. Dorothy began to paint, something she had never done before. As her brush touched canvas, she discovered that reality was as fluid as her watercolors, responding to her inner vision rather than any fixed rules. Her grief transformed into creativity, her emptiness into possibility. This tale mirrors your own journey. The limitations you perceive are like Dorothy's widow's weeds, garments of belief you can choose to remove. Sacred practice. Take your journal and write down 5 fundamental beliefs you hold about life and your place in it. For each belief, ask yourself, who first told me this was true? When did I accept this as my reality? Then most crucially inquire if this belief were merely a story I've been telling myself. What other possibilities might exist? Chapter 2, The Architect. Within, in the valleys of an ancient land, Eugene the stonemason labored each. Part 2, The Architect. Day, his calloused hands shaping rough stone into smooth forms. His greatest dream was to build a grand home that would reflect the prosperity he yearned for. Stone by stone, he constructed a masterpiece, arched windows that would welcome the morning sun, spacious rooms that spoke of abundance, and a garden courtyard where peace would dwell. Yet, as the structure rose from the earth, Eugene noticed a curious thing. Though his hands had crafted luxury, his mind still dwelled in scarcity. Each night he returned to his modest cottage, feeling like an imposter in the presence of his creation. The magnificent house stood empty, a testament to the gap between his outer achievements and inner beliefs. You, like Eugene, are the architect of your reality. Your thoughts are the invisible blueprints from which your life takes form. The universe responds not to your actions alone, but to the energy of your deepest convictions. When your inner world aligns with your outer creations, manifestation flows as naturally as water downstream. The power of conscious creation lies not in forcing change, but in remembering who you truly are. Your thoughts are not passive observers, they are active participants in the dance of reality. Every intention you hold shapes the quantum field of possibilities around you. The observer effect, known to mystics long before quantum physicists named it, reveals that consciousness itself influences what manifests in your physical world. In a small town schoolhouse, Marjorie taught her students the same lessons she had taught for 15 years. But when she awakened to the truth that each moment was an opportunity for creation, her classroom transformed. The same arithmetic problems became adventures in discovery. The same grammar rules became keys to self-expression. Nothing in her routine had changed, yet everything was different because she had changed her relationship with reality. Sacred practice, the temple of tomorrow. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Begin to construct your ideal day in your mind's eye, not as a distant dream, but as a present reality. What does the morning light feel like on your skin? What sounds greet you as you wake? Move through each hour with full sensory awareness. Notice the details, the taste of your food, the quality of your conversations, the sense of purpose in your work. Most importantly, feel the emotions that arise as you live this day. Let your body experience joy, peace, and fulfillment as if they are happening now. This is not mere imagination, it is the act of energetic alignment with your chosen reality. Chapter 3, The Spell of Limitation. In a small parish among rolling hills, Walter stood in his. Part 3, The Spell of Limitation. Father's shadow, echoing the same sermons of limitation he had heard since childhood. Life is a test of endurance, his father would say, and Walter carried these words like stones in his pockets, weighing down each step of his journey. One autumn evening, as the church bells fell silent, Walter remained in the empty sanctuary, in that rare moment of stillness, free from the echoes of generations. He heard something else, his own truth, the weight of inherited beliefs lifted, revealing them as mere shadows cast by others. Fears, you too carry such inherited patterns passed down through bloodlines and belief systems. These thought forms move through generations like silent agreements, shaping reality before conscious choice can intervene. Yet these limitations exist only in the realm of acceptance. They are learned spells, waiting to be broken, the collective hypnosis of lack, of unworthiness, of fear. These are not your original thoughts. They are borrowed beliefs wearing the mask of truth. Each time you think, I can't pause to ask, whose voice is this? Each declaration of limitation carries the energy of its source, often reaching back through time to ancestors who faced different challenges in different worlds. In the marketplace of a distant town, Hazel sat at her wooden table, needle and thread dancing through fabric. For years she spoke the language of barely enough, measuring her worth in copper coins. But something shifted when she began to whisper new words as she worked. I am abundance in motion. My creativity flows without limit. My worth expands with each stitch. As her words changed, so did the fabric of her reality. Customers who once haggled over pennies now sought her unique creations. Her small shop expanded like the very patterns she crafted. The universe, ever responsive, matched her new vibration with corresponding circumstances. Sacred practice, the mirror of inheritance. Take 3 breaths and center yourself in silence. On a clean page, write your 3 most limiting beliefs, the ones that feel most true. When you doubt yourself, next to each, trace its origin. Who first spoke these words? What circumstances birthed these beliefs? Now craft an opposite affirmation for each. If you wrote, I never have enough, write, abundance flows to me naturally. If you wrote, I'm not worthy, write, I am inherently deserving of all good. If you wrote, change is hard, write, I transform with grace and ease. These new declarations are not mere wishes, they are commands to the universal field, realigning your energy with truth rather than inherited illusion. Chapter 4, The Invisible Hand, High Above the Crashing Waves. Part 4, The Invisible Hand. Where sea meets sky in an eternal dance, Clifford kept his nightly vigil in the lighthouse tower. Year after year, he watched the rhythms of tide and storm, until one evening, he noticed something extraordinary. The patterns of the sea seemed to mirror his own inner weather. Calm waters on days of peace, tempestuous waves when his thoughts grew stormy. You see, Clifford had stumbled upon one of the universe's most subtle laws, the law of vibration. Just as waves ripple through water, your thoughts and emotions send vibrations through the fabric of existence. These unseen frequencies shape the visible world around you, drawing to you experiences that match your inner state. The universe responds not to your words or wishes, but to the energy you emanate. Each thought carries its own signature frequency, broadcasting instructions to the infinite field of possibility. Joy attracts joy, peace attracts peace, and whatever emotion you hold consistently becomes the architect of your circumstances. Think of yourself as a living transmission tower, constantly sending and receiving signals. Your emotional state is your point of attraction, the magnetic force that draws experiences into your field. When you understand this principle, you begin to witness how your inner world orchestrates the outer. In a concert hall across the city, Esther sat before her piano, fingers hovering above the keys. She had played this piece 100 times before, but tonight was different. Instead of merely performing the notes, She allowed herself to become one with the music's emotion. As she played, something shifted in the air. The audience leaned forward, caught in the same invisible current. That evening, a prestigious music director approached her, offering opportunities she had only dreamed of. What changed? Esther had aligned her emotional frequency with the essence of what she desired. She became, in those moments, the embodiment of artistic excellence she sought to attract. Now you are invited to practice this ancient art of vibrational alignment each morning before the world makes its demands. Create 3 minutes of sacred space, sit in stillness and bring to mind a feeling of pure joy, of abundance, of love. Breathe deeply, allowing each breath to elevate your emotional state. Imagine this feeling as a golden light emanating from your heart, growing stronger with each inhale. Let your whole being resonate with this higher frequency. This is not mere visualization, it is energetic instruction to the universe. As you consistently tune your emotional frequency to match your desires, you become a magnet for experiences that mirror this elevated state. The practice is simple, yet its effects ripple through the fabric of reality itself. Chapter 5, The Mirror of Manifestation. Part 5, The Mirror of Manifestation. In a small workshop, warmed by glowing furnaces, Raymond shaped molten glass. With practiced breath and steady hands, each piece that emerged from his torch reflected not just light, but fragments of his own being. When his thoughts were scattered, the glass would crack and splinter. When his mind found stillness, the material flowed like water, taking on forms of transcendent beauty. You hold within you this same creative power. Life, in its infinite wisdom, operates as a perfect mirror, constantly reflecting back to you the essence of your inner state. This is not metaphor but cosmic law, the principle of reflection that governs all manifestation. Many seek to attract what they want, failing to realize that the universe does not respond to wanting, it responds to being. Your circumstances, relationships, and experiences are not random occurrences, but precise reflections of your consciousness. The mirror never lies, it simply shows you who you are. When you understand this principle, you begin to shift your focus from outer circumstances to inner mastery. Rather than asking, how can I get what I want, you learn to ask, who must I become? This subtle shift holds the key to all genuine transformation. In a distant village lived Lucille, a child who knew the ache of abandonment. Yet instead of hardening her heart, she chose to offer others what she herself had longed for. She left flowers on doorsteps, wrote notes of encouragement to strangers, and shared her bread with fellow orphans. Gradually, the world began reflecting back her kindness. Neighbors invited her to meals, merchants saved treats for her, and eventually, a loving family recognized in her the daughter they had always wanted. The mirror principle reveals that what you experience is not happening to you, it is happening from you. Each challenge that arises offers a reflection of some aspect of your consciousness ready to be transformed. Sacred practice. Select one situation in your life that brings discomfort or challenge. Sit in quiet contemplation and ask yourself, what part of me is being reflected in this experience? Write your insights without judgment, understanding that this reflection offers a gateway to profound self-knowledge and transformation. As you recognize yourself in the mirror of life, you gain the power to shift the reflection by shifting your inner state. Chapter 6. The silence that creates. In a small town where time. Part 6. The silence seemed to flow like honey. Bennett crafted timepieces with meticulous care. Each morning before touching his tools, he would sit in perfect stillness, watching the interplay of shadow and light through his workshop windows. Over years of this practice, he noticed something extraordinary. The quality of his creations directly reflected the depth of his. Silence, you too possess this innate wisdom. The universe speaks not through chaos and commotion, but through the sacred spaces between your thoughts. These intervals of pure potential hold the seeds of all manifestations. In the realm of creation, silence is not emptiness, it is fullness waiting to take form, just as the pause between breaths contains life's deepest mysteries. The quiet moments between your thoughts harbor unlimited creative power. This is the void from which all things emerge. When you learn to rest in this silence, you access the primordial field of pure possibility. Here, before words shape reality, before thoughts crystallize into form, you touch the essence of creative force itself. This is not meditation as you know it. This is entering the workshop of the universe. In a garden surrounded by roses, Mildred discovered this truth. Each dawn she would sit in her wooden chair, allowing her mind to settle like leaves after a storm. She made no demands of the universe, spoke no affirmations. Instead, she simply held space for peace to enter. As weeks passed, neighbors who once argued began to greet each other warmly. Children who had played roughly now shared their toys. The very air around her home seemed to shimmer with tranquility. You see, the outer world arranges itself according to your inner silence. When you learn to dwell in this quiet space, life begins to mirror the peace you embody. This is not manifesting through force or will, but through alignment with the natural order of creation. Like a still pond that perfectly reflects the sky above, your tranquil mind becomes a pure vessel through which universal wisdom can flow. Those who master this art of inner stillness discover that their presence alone becomes a catalyst for harmony, drawing forth the highest potential in all they encounter. The world responds not to what you demand of it, but to the quality of consciousness you maintain. Within sacred practice, find a space where you will remain undisturbed. Close your eyes and allow your breath to become like gentle waves upon a shore. Without using words, begin to see with your inner eye the reality you wish to experience. Hold this vision in pure silence, adding no commentary or explanation. Simply witness it as if it already exists. Practice this daily, understanding that in these moments of sacred silence, you touch the very source of creation itself. Chapter 7, The Dreamers. Awakening in the depths of a foreign battlefield. Part 7, The Dreamer's Awakening. Franklin lay in his tent, exhausted from the day's events. As he drifted into slumber, something extraordinary occurred. He became aware he was dreaming. In this heightened state of consciousness, he watched as the conflict around him transformed into a dance of light and shadow. He realized that even in the midst of chaos, he could choose his response. Upon awakening, this awareness remained, forever altering how he perceived reality. Like Franklin, you stand at the threshold of a profound awakening. Your life in its current form is but a dream you have accepted as reality. Yet within this dream lies the power to become lucid, to recognize that you are both the dreamer and the dream. This awakening begins with a simple truth. Most humans move through life in a kind of waking sleep, reacting to circumstances as if they have no choice. They are like actors who have forgotten they are in a play, taking every scene as fixed and inevitable. But you can choose differently. You can become aware within the dream of your life. Just as a dreamer suddenly realizes, I am dreaming, you can achieve this same clarity in your waking life. Each moment presents an opportunity to pause, to observe, and to choose consciously rather than react unconsciously. This is not mere philosophy, it is practical magic. Pearl, who arranged flowers in her small shop, discovered this truth through her daily work. One morning, when a customer complained harshly about an arrangement She felt the familiar surge of defensiveness rise within her. But something different happened. She paused. In that pause, she witnessed her own reaction as if watching a scene unfold. Instead of responding from habit, she chose a new way. "Let me understand what you envision," she said softly. This simple act of conscious awareness transformed not only that interaction, but began rippling through every aspect of her life. The power of the pause. This moment of lucid awareness changes everything. When you step back from automatic responses, you create space for new possibilities to emerge. Like a dreamer who realizes they can fly, you discover that many of your perceived limitations exist only because you believed in them. Sacred practice. Throughout your day, establish conscious pauses before key actions or decisions. In these moments of clarity, ask yourself, what would the awakened version of me do right now? Allow the answer to emerge not from habit or fear, but from your highest awareness. Practice this especially before responding to challenges, making decisions, or entering important conversations. This simple act of conscious questioning begins to dissolve the barriers between the dreamer and the dream, allowing you to shape your reality with awakened intention. Chapter 8: The Voice Behind the Noise. In a bustling city switchboard room, Ruth connected calls day after. Part 8: The Voice Behind the Noise. Day, her fingers dancing across the maze of cables and plugs. Through the constant buzz of voices and static, she began noticing something peculiar. Subtle difference between the mechanical noise in her headset and another kind of signal that seemed to arise from within. You too possess this inner switchboard, this sacred connection to wisdom that speaks beneath the surface of everyday noise. Like Ruth, you have likely dismissed these whispers, these gentle nudges that arise in moments of stillness. Yet this voice holds the key to your highest path. The universe speaks not through thunderous proclamations, but through the quiet certainty that blooms in your heart. This knowledge differs from the chatter of the mind or the opinions of others. It carries a distinct signature, a peaceful resonance that feels like coming home to truth. Ruth discovered that when she attended to this inner frequency, her decisions aligned with unexpected opportunities. She learned to distinguish between the static of fear and the clear tone of wisdom. This same discernment awaits your cultivation. Harold, who crafted bread in the pre-dawn hours, found his way to this wisdom through the simplicity of his craft. One morning, an inexplicable urge prompted him to prepare twice his usual amount of loaves, despite no apparent reason. That afternoon, a group of travelers appeared, seeking sustenance for their journey. As he watched them enjoy the extra bread he had mysteriously been guided to bake, Harold understood. The universe had whispered and he had listened. This inner guidance system operates with perfect precision when you attune to its frequency. Like a radio seeking clear reception, you must first stop the interference of doubt, social conditioning, and external pressures. The voice of intuition speaks in immediacy, in that first flash of knowing. Before the mind begins its analysis, you have always had access to this wisdom. Every time you've said, "I just knew," or "something told me," you were touching this truth. The key lies not in seeking this voice, but in removing the layers that muffle its ever-present guidance. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Take 5 minutes to sit in silence, allowing your awareness to turn inward. Bring forth one question that seeks guidance in your life. As you hold this question in your heart, write down the very first response that arises without editing or judgment. Trust that the initial impression carries the seed of truth you seek. This practice strengthens your connection to inner wisdom and helps you recognize its unique signature in your daily life. Chapter 9: The Veil of Doubt. In the ancient city of Part 9. The Veil of Doubt. Alexandria, where stars whispered their secrets to those who listened, Louisa spent her nights studying celestial patterns alongside her father, a renowned astrologer, though blessed with remarkable intuitive gifts. She found herself caught between two worlds, the mystical realm of her visions and the rational mind that questioned their validity. You may recognize yourself in Louisa's struggle, for doubt is not the enemy of faith, but its companion on the path to deeper knowing. Each vision she received was met with an inner resistance, a voice asking, "How can this be real?" One evening, as the moon cast silver light through her window, a stranger appeared at their door. The moment Louisa saw him, she recognized his face from a vision she'd had 3 nights prior. He sought guidance about lost family heirloom, and without thinking, Louisa spoke of a garden with 3 cypress trees, the exact location she had seen in her dream. The man's eyes widened in recognition, and the next day he returned with the recovered treasure. This truth awaits your discovery. Doubt exists not to defeat you but to strengthen your resolve. It serves as the resistance that builds spiritual muscle, the darkness that makes light visible. In a distant village lived Everett, who lost his sight in childhood. Rather than surrendering to limitation, he developed an extraordinary relationship with faith. Each morning, he would touch the rough bark of the oak tree outside his home, knowing with certainty that spring would transform it, though he could not see the buds forming. His unwavering belief in nature's cycles never faltered. One morning, after years of this practice, something miraculous occurred. He began to perceive shapes, not with his eyes, but with his heart's knowing. Like Everett, you possess the ability to see beyond physical sight. The universe responds not to your doubts, but to your deepest convictions. When you choose belief over skepticism, reality begins to align with your inner knowing. Sacred practice. Each morning, write these words with purposeful intent. I choose belief. Select one aspect of your life where doubt has held you back. Perhaps your ability to manifest abundance, love, or purpose. After writing your declaration, spend several moments feeling the truth of what you've written, allowing belief to fill your being. This is not mere repetition, but a daily recommitment to faith over fear. As you continue this practice, watch how the universe begins to reflect your chosen belief back to you in unexpected ways. Chapter 10. The Threshold of Power. In the hushed sanctuary of an Part 10. The Threshold of Power. Ancient library. Agnes traced her fingers across leather-bound volumes, sensing something stirring in the quiet air. Between dusty tomes and forgotten scrolls, she discovered a manuscript unlike any other. Its chapters seemed to shimmer with an inner light, its words appearing to rearrange themselves before her eyes. You stand now at a similar threshold of discovery. Like Agnes, you have been guided to this moment where truth reveals itself not as mere words on a page, but as living wisdom that awakens something dormant within you. As Agnes read the manuscript, each word resonated with an uncanny familiarity, as though the text had been written specifically for her. The teachings spoke of a power that lay dormant in every soul, waiting to be recognized. In that moment of recognition, Agnes felt reality itself begin to shift, not in dramatic upheaval, but in subtle realignment, like a key turning in a long-forgotten lock. When you arrive at the point of true decision, the universe moves with you. This is not mere coincidence, but cosmic law. The moment you align your identity with your intention, energy responds. Reality reshapes itself not through force, but through recognition of what has always been true. In a distant town, Leon stood at the crossroads of his life. For years he had denied his true calling as a healer, choosing instead the safety of Conformity. One morning, witnessing a stranger in distress, he stepped forward. Without hesitation, in that single act of courage, Leon felt the world respond. Doors opened, synchronicities multiplied, and his path unfolded with supernatural grace. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Take 3 deep breaths and close your eyes. Now, imagine yourself 1 year from this moment, writing back to your present self. Let your hand move across the page. As your future self speaks, "My beloved past self, I wish you could see what I see now. Everything changed the moment you chose to believe in your power." That day when you read these words, something shifted with you. You finally understood that you were never meant to be small. Continue writing, allowing your future self to share the wisdom of what awakened in you today. Let this letter serve as both prophecy and promise, a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Feel the truth flowing through your pen, for these words carry the power to shape the reality that awaits. Your future self knows the magnitude of this moment, understands how this simple act of faith planted the seeds of transformation. Trust in the sacred dialogue unfolding between your present and future selves. For in this mystical exchange lies the key to unlocking your destiny. Part 2, The Shift, Rewriting the Rules of Reality. Chapter 11, The Code of Intention. In the pre-dawn quiet of her workshop. Part 11, The Code of Intention. Sylvia's fingers danced across the metal type, arranging letters as she had done countless times before. The soft lamp cast shadows on well-worn equipment, each piece holding years of printed dreams and forgotten stories. On this particular morning, something shifted in the air as she said a single word: freedom. The clarity with which she pressed that word into paper transcended mere technique. Each letter carried the weight of her complete attention, her entire being focused into that singular moment of creation. When the ink met paper, the impression was unlike any she had created before. So crisp, so present, it seemed to vibrate with life. Within days, Sylvia witnessed this word manifest in ways that defied coincidence. Opportunities arose, restrictions fell away, and her life began to mirror the crystalline clarity of that printed word. You too hold this power of precise creation. When intention lacks clarity, it disperses like fog in sunlight, but when focused with the precision of a master craftsman, it becomes an unstoppable force of manifestation. The universe responds not to the volume of your desires, but to their clarity. Think of your thoughts as signals broadcasting into the infinite field of possibility. Vague wishes create static. Clear intentions transmit with perfect fidelity. This is why many who claim to practice the law of attraction achieve mixed results. They scatter their energy across multiple desires, never achieving the laser focus required for manifestation. Elias understood this principle through his work as a seagrapher. For years, he had drawn maps based on physical landmarks and established boundaries, but one day he began creating maps guided by inner truth, charts of possibility rather than limitation. His new maps showed paths that existed in potential, not just in present reality. To his amazement, these paths began to materialize, as though the act of drawing them with absolute clarity had called them into being. Sacred practice. Take a blank piece of paper and find absolute stillness. Allow all scattered thoughts to settle like leaves after a storm. Now write a single sentence that captures your clearest intention. Not a wish, not a hope, but a declaration of what is becoming real. Through you, this sentence must be specific enough to generate a clear image, yet universal enough to allow the universe its own creative expression. Write it with the same presence Sylvia brought to her letterpress, every word chosen with deliberate care. Each morning, stand before a mirror, look into your own eyes and speak this sentence aloud 3 times. Feel each word resonate through your being. Let your voice carry the same clarity as Sylvia's printed letters, the same certainty as Elia's new maps. Chapter 12, The Reality. Loop. In the early morning mist, Victor stood at his familiar post, watching. Part 12, The Reality Loop. Passengers board the 715 train, as he had done for 20 years. Each day the same. Faces, the same schedule, the same track stretching endlessly before him. Yet on this particular morning, something stirred within him, a recognition that shook his very foundation. The rails beneath his feet were not just steel and wood, but a metaphor for the circular path his life had become. You too may recognize this pattern in your own existence. Like Victor, you move through life on tracks laid down by past choices, beliefs, and unconscious agreements. These are not external constraints, but inner blueprints that shape your daily experience. The law of cycles reveals that your circumstances are not random occurrences, but reflections of your deepest identity. Each morning you wake to what appears to be a new day, yet find yourself living through familiar scenes, conversations, and emotions. This is not fate's doing, it is the precise outworking of your inner programming. Consider how a belief creates an emotion, which then generates an action leading to a result that reinforces the original belief. This is the mechanism behind all recurring patterns in your life. The loop continues not because the world demands it, but because your identity maintains it. Ida, an artist in a small coastal town, painted the same seascape every day for a decade. Her gallery showed the same views, attracted the same buyers, and earned the same modest income. One morning, she moved her easel 3ft to the left, a tiny shift that changed her entire perspective. This simple disruption awakened something within her. Soon her paintings transformed, revealing new dimensions of color and light that had always existed, but remained unseen from her habitual position. The power to break any cycle lies not in dramatic external changes, but in subtle shifts of perception and behavior. When you alter even one element of your routine with conscious awareness, you send ripples through the entire pattern of your existence. Sacred practice. Stand in silence and observe your life as Victor observed his railway. Identify one pattern that repeats with clockwork precision, a relationship dynamic, a financial situation, or an emotional response. Write this pattern in your journal with unflinching honesty. Now choose one small but significant action that will disrupt this cycle. Perhaps you will take a different route to work, rearrange your living space, or speak words you've never allowed yourself to voice. This act must feel both challenging and liberating. Perform this disruption with complete presence, understanding that you are not merely changing an action, but declaring to the universe your readiness for a new pattern of existence. Note how reality responds to this shift in your identity. Chapter 13, The Sacred Frequency. In the hushed chambers of an old concert hall, Calvin sat alone with Part 13, The Sacred Frequency. His violin, his fingers traced the strings with reverence, seeking not the perfect pitch according to any earthly standard, but a frequency that resonated with the deepest chambers of his soul. As he adjusted each string, he closed his eyes, listening beyond the physical realm to a note that existed first in his heart. You possess this same innate ability to tune yourself to the frequency of your desires. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, responds not to your words or actions, but to your vibrational signature. This signature is composed primarily of your emotional state. Your feelings are the language through which you communicate with the cosmic forces of creation. When you understand that emotion is the primary catalyst for manifestation, you begin to treat your inner state as sacred. Your feelings are not mere responses to life, they are the very instructions you send into the quantum field. Each emotion carries its own frequency, its own magnetic pull, attracting experiences that match its vibration. Consider how a musical note, when struck, causes objects of similar frequency to vibrate in sympathy. Your emotional state works in precisely the same way, resonating with and drawing forth circumstances that match its tone. This is why forcing action without first aligning your emotional frequency often leads to frustration and resistance. Beatrice discovered this truth in her own kitchen one spring morning. For years, her marriage had felt discordant, like instruments playing in different keys. Instead of trying to change her husband, she began each day filling her home with music that lifted her spirit. She would stand in patches of sunlight, allowing warmth to penetrate her being, consciously raising her vibration through these simple pleasures. Within weeks, the atmosphere of her home shifted. Her husband, without any direct intervention, began to match her elevated frequency. The art of emotional alchemy lies not in suppressing lower vibrations, but in skillfully tuning yourself to higher ones. Like Calvin with his violin, you must learn to recognize when you are in harmony with your desires and when you require adjustment. Sacred practice. Create your personal frequency elevation ritual to be performed each morning as the sun rises. Find a space where you can be undisturbed for 5 minutes. Begin with 3 deep breaths, each one drawing in light and releasing resistance. Select music that carries the emotional signature of your desired reality. Perhaps it is a piece that makes your heart soar or fills you with quiet confidence. As the music plays, allow gratitude to well up within you for all that is and all that is becoming. Stand or sit in natural light if possible, letting it bathe your face as you attune yourself to the frequency of your highest vision. Feel the reality you wish to create as if it already exists within your emotional field. Maintain this elevated state for the duration of your chosen music, knowing that you are broadcasting this frequency into the universe with perfect clarity. Chapter 14, The Power of the Part 14, The Power of the Watcher. At the bustling central station, Henry stood behind his ticket counter, watching the endless stream of travelers flow past. One particularly hectic morning, he noticed something peculiar. When he focused his attention on the chaos of late arrivals and missed connections, everything seemed to spiral into greater disorder. Yet when he maintained a calm, centered awareness, the station's rhythm smoothed itself out naturally. You too possess this power of conscious observation. The universe operates as a vast field of possibility waiting to be collapsed into specific realities through the act of attention. Your gaze is not passive, it is a creative force that shapes the very fabric of existence. This is not merely mystical thinking, but a principle recognized by quantum physics, the observer effect. The mere act of watching something changes its behavior. Your attention carries an energetic charge that influences the outcome of events, just as Henry discovered at his station. When you truly understand the principle, you begin to treat your attention as the sacred tool it is. Where you place your focus, energy follows. What you observe with expectation tends to expand. This is why those who constantly watch for problems find them multiplying, while those who observe opportunities discover them appearing everywhere. In a small farming community, Florence learned this wisdom through the soil. Each morning, she would walk her fields, directing loving attention to her crops. Rather than fixating on weeds or worry, she chose to observe the vitality in each plant. To her amazement, the areas where she focused her loving attention yielded more abundant harvests. than those she merely tended. Mechanically, the power lies not in forcing change, but in the quality of your observation. When you watch anything, a situation, a relationship, a goal with genuine love and positive expectation, you activate a transformative force. This is because your consciousness is not separate from what you observe. It is an integral part of the creative process. Sacred practice. Find a simple object, perhaps a flower, a crystal, or even a glass of water. Place it before you in a quiet space for 3 minutes. Observe it with your complete attention, as if you are seeing it for the first time. Notice its details, its essence, its being, now while maintaining your gaze. Begin to send waves of love or peace toward the object. Feel these qualities emanating from your heart center. Do not strain or force. Simply allow these feelings to flow naturally from you to the object. After the practice, take a moment to notice how your own inner state has shifted. Write down any subtle changes in your feelings or perception. Remember, the observer and the observed are forever linked in the dance of creation. Chapter 15, The Map of Meaning in the Hushed Corners of an Part 15, The Map of Meanings. Ancient library. Clarara's fingers traced the spines of forgotten volumes. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through dusty windows, she discovered a weathered book with hollow chapters, concealing an unusual map. Unlike ordinary charts marking cities and roads, this one depicted emotions, beliefs, and possibilities, a seagraphy of consciousness itself. You too hold such a map within your being. Every experience, every circumstance you encounter is first filtered through the lens of your perception. The meaning you assign to each moment becomes its true power, shaping the reality that unfolds before you. When you understand this principle, you recognize that life's events are neutral until you imbue them with significance. Your interpretation creates the experience, not the other way around, just as Clara's map revealed. Inner territories, rather than physical landmarks, your perception charts the course of your destiny. This truth extends beyond mere positive thinking. It touches the very foundation of how reality manifests in your life. The universe responds not to events themselves, but to the meaning you give them. A rejection becomes either a wall or a redirect, depending on how you perceive it. A challenge transforms into either a burden or an opportunity for growth, all through the power of your interpretation. Marshall, a merchant who had lost his entire fortune in a venture, discovered this wisdom through necessity. For months, he carried his failure like a heavy stone, seeing only loss and shame. Then one morning, he chose to view his situation differently. This loss, he declared, is not my ending, but my education. The moment he reframed his circumstance, new possibilities emerged. A former competitor, impressed by his resilience, offered him a partnership that exceeded his previous success. Your power lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering your perception of them. When you shift the meaning you give to your experiences, you alter the very fabric of your reality. This is the hidden mechanism behind all transformation, the ability to rewrite the significance of what unfolds in your life. Sacred practice. Select a challenging event from your past that still carries emotional weight. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Light a candle if you wish, creating a sacred atmosphere for this work of inner alchemy. Take 3 deep breaths, centering yourself in the present moment. Now, on a clean page, write about this event as if it were a gift specifically designed for your growth. Begin with the words, "What if this happened for me?" Allow your inner wisdom to reveal new meanings, new possibilities that were invisible before. Complete this practice by burning or burying the old story, symbolically releasing its former meaning. Chapter 16, The Disruption. Principal in a dimly lit factory where machines hummed their monotonous song. Myrtle stood watching the endless stream of identical products flow past her. Station, for 15 years, she had overseen this mechanical dance, ensuring every piece matched its predetermined pattern. Yet on this ordinary Tuesday, something extraordinary stirred within her soul. You see, transformation often arrives in moments of divine disruption. When Myrtle's palms struck that conveyor belt, silencing the mechanical rhythm that had governed her days, she did more than halt production. She shattered the illusion of powerlessness that had held her captive. The universe speaks through such moments of sacred chaos, when you consciously break a pattern that no longer serves your highest expression. You initiate a cascade of creative force. This is not destruction for destruction's sake, but rather the necessary dismantling of old structures to make way for new growth. Consider Dale, whose measuring tape had become both his tool and his prison. Each precise measurement reinforced the belief that creation must follow rigid rules. The day he burned that tape, watching the numbers curl into ash, he discovered that his hands held wisdom beyond measurement. His subsequent creations, born from intuition rather than calculation, carried a beauty that no formula could capture. These acts of conscious rebellion serve as gateways to your authentic power. When you deliberately step out of unconscious patterns, you reclaim your role as creator rather than creation. The temporary discomfort of disruption yields to the expansion of possibility. Your current circumstances, no matter how fixed they appear, are simply patterns awaiting conscious interruption. Like Myrtle's assembly line or Dale's measuring tape, they persist only through your silent agreement. The power to halt, to shift, to reimagine has always resided within you. Sacred practice. Rise before dawn tomorrow. In these quiet moments, identify one routine that maintains your smaller self, a habit, a thought pattern, or a daily action that reinforces limitations. Now consciously choose to disrupt this pattern. If you always take the same route to work, choose another. If you begin each day checking messages, begin instead in silence. If you habitually defer to others' opinions, voice your truth first. This disruption is not random but sacred, a declaration of your evolving identity. As you break this pattern, speak these words: I release what no longer serves my becoming. Feel the power of conscious chaos as it creates space for your expansion. Document the insights and opportunities that emerge from this deliberate disruption. Chapter 17. The Echo of Belief. In a small post office between weathered buildings, Harriet sorted through the day's mail, her fingers moving with practiced precision. Each morning she distributed hundreds of letters carrying dreams, hopes, and disappointments. Yet lately, her own mailbox seemed to overflow with rejection letters, each one echoing an unseen truth within her heart. You might recognize this pattern in your own life when external circumstances appear to conspire against your desires, but what you perceive as coincidence masks a deeper mechanism of creation. The letters Harriet received were not random occurrences, but faithful reflections of a belief buried so deep she had forgotten its existence. The universe operates with perfect precision, yet often with a time delay that obscures cause and effect. Your present circumstances whisper the story of past beliefs, like ripples reaching shore long after the stone has sunk beneath the surface. When Harriet finally paused to examine her string of rejections, she discovered a childhood memory where she had decided she was unworthy of success. This principle manifests with unwavering consistency. Take George, whose daily inspections of the city's bridges reflected his cautious nature. For years, he operated from a belief that disaster lurked around every corner, until one Meditation revealed the source of his anxiety as he transformed his relationship with safety, seeing it as a natural state rather than a constant battle. His perception shifted. The very next day, this new awareness led him to notice a subtle structural weakness others had missed, preventing what could have been a tragic accident. Your reality follows your beliefs with mathematical precision. Every circumstance you encounter today grew from a seed planted in your consciousness, perhaps years ago, by tracing current conditions backward. Like following a river to its source, you can uncover the original thought that set everything in motion. Sacred practice. Select one circumstance in your life that appears fixed or challenging. In the silence of your heart, follow its thread backward. Through time, ask yourself, what must I believe for this to be my experience? When you touch upon the core belief, you will feel its truth in your body. A subtle recognition. Now speak these words aloud. This belief no longer serves me. I now believe. Complete this phrase with its opposite truth. Write this new declaration in your journal. Repeat it daily, not as a mere affirmation, but as a recognition of what has always been true beneath the illusion. Watch as your external world begins to shift, reflecting your renewed consciousness back to you. Remember, your beliefs are not predictions about reality, but instructions to it. Chapter 18, The Paradox Portal. High above the sawdust floor, Lorraine balanced on her perch, studying the empty space before her. Night after night, she calculated each swing, measured every arc, and controlled every muscle. Yet something within her yearned for more, not just distance, but freedom. You too stand at such a precipice, measuring the gap between where you are and where you wish to be. Like Lorraine, you may believe that tighter control will ensure your success, but the universe operates through paradox, and herein lies a truth that will transform your understanding of manifestation. When Lorraine finally released her iron grip on perfection, something miraculous occurred. In that moment of surrender, she flew further than ever before. This is the sacred paradox of creation. What you chase often eludes you, while what you release flows naturally into your experience. The law of paradox reveals itself in every spiritual truth. To receive, you must first give. To gain power, you must relinquish control. To manifest your desires, you must first detach from them. These are not mere platitudes, but precise instructions for working with universal energy. Consider Arnold, whose dental practice had become a monument to forced success. Each day he pushed harder, marketed more aggressively, stretched longer hours, yet prosperity remained just out of reach. Only when he stopped striving did his practice begin to flourish. He discovered that relaxing into his purpose attracted more patience than any campaign ever could. This principle operates with mathematical precision. The energy of desperation repels while the energy of allowance attracts. When you clutch tightly to your desires, you actually push them away, but when you hold them lightly with trust in divine timing, you become magnetic to their fulfillment. Sacred practice of paradoxical allowance. Take 3 desires that feel urgent in your heart. Write each one at the top of a blank page. Now beneath each desire, complete this reflection. I release my attachment to desire while holding the vision of its fulfillment. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. I choose to be at peace whether this manifests or something better takes its place. Feel how your energy shifts as you practice this paradox, wanting something deeply, while simultaneously releasing your grip on its outcome. This is the art of spiritual manifestation, not forcing but allowing, not grasping but attracting, through the power of your being rather than your doing. Chapter 19, The Game of Symbols. In the quiet hours before dawn, Velma dusted the same mantelpiece she had cleaned 1,000 times before, yet on this morning something caught her eye, a single white feather perfectly placed where no feather should. B. She tucked it away, only to find it later that afternoon on her garden path. Then again on her pillow that evening. You may recognize this pattern in your own life, the mysterious recurrence of symbols that seem to speak directly to your soul. These are not mere coincidences, but messages written in the language of the universe. The world around you operates as a living matrix of meaning where every event, object, and encounter carries potential significance. When you attune yourself to this symbolic dimension, life begins to guide you through a sacred dialogue of signs and synchronicities, just as Velma followed her recurring feather to a crossroads where she finally chose to pursue her dreams of opening a sanctuary. You too are surrounded by symbolic breadcrumbs leading toward your highest path. Consider Orville, who noticed the numbers 3, 16 appearing everywhere on clocks, receipts, and street addresses. These were his mother's favorite verses, and through them, he received the guidance needed to transform his family business into something that honored her memory. The universe speaks in patterns, in echoes, in meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by logic alone. These synchronicities serve as confirmations, warnings, or invitations, depending on your willingness to listen and interpret their meaning. Sacred practice, the language of signs. Choose one recurring symbol from your recent experience, perhaps a specific animal, number, or object that keeps appearing in unexpected ways. Notice how this symbol seems to emerge at pivotal moments, catching your attention like a whisper from the universe itself. In your journal, write 3 possible meanings this symbol might hold for your current life situation, allowing your intuition to guide your interpretations. Without judgment or doubt, consider how each meaning resonates with the challenges or opportunities before you. Then, in a sacred moment of connection, speak aloud with conviction, "I am open to receiving clear guidance through this symbol." Let these words ripple through the ethereal fabric that connects all things. Set an intention to notice if and when it appears again, remaining vigilant yet peaceful in your observation. Know deep within your heart that its presence carries confirmation of your path, like breadcrumbs of divine wisdom leading you toward your highest purpose. Trust that as you attune yourself to this sacred language, more signs will reveal themselves with increasing clarity and significance. Chapter 20, Living the Future. Now, in a small town where time seemed to stand still, Roscoe learned the art of clockmaking under old Master Wells. Each morning, while other apprentices merely wound gears and polished brass, Roscoe carried himself with the dignified air of a master craftsman. He spoke with the wisdom of experience he had not yet gained, dressed in clothes that seemed too fine for his station, and treated each timepiece as though it bore his own master's mark. You see, Roscoe had discovered what the ancients knew, that to alter your future, you must first become its living embodiment. He understood that time itself responds not to what you wish for, but to who you are, being in each moment. The universe operates through resonance, not request. When you embody the energy of what you desire, you transmit a signal that reality must match. This is not pretense or imagination. It is the activation of a dormant truth within you. As Roscoe walked through town, greeting others with the quiet confidence of success, something shifted in the collective field. Customers began asking for him by name. Wealthy merchants sought his opinion. Within months, the entire town's relationship with time itself seemed to transform around his presence. Consider Edith, who lost her husband in the war. Instead of shrinking into widow's weeds, she dressed each morning in vibrant colors and carried herself with the grace of a woman deeply loved. She set a table for 2, played music in her empty parlor, and spoke of life. With the warmth of one who knew joy would return, soon her home became a gathering place for art and music, filling with the very life she had been embodying. The power of embodiment transcends mere positive thinking. It is a full-frequency transmission of your future self, broadcast through every cell of your being. Your thoughts, words, movements, and choices must all align with the reality you wish to create. Sacred. Practice the 24-hour embodiment. For the next day, you will live as though your desired reality is already manifest. How would you carry yourself if your dreams had already come true? What words would you speak? How would you treat others? How would you move through space? From the moment you wake until you rest again, allow no gap between your current self and your future vision. Dress as that version of yourself would dress, speak with their confidence, make decisions from their wisdom. Remember, this is not an exercise in pretending, but in remembering who you truly are. For in the grand matrix of existence, time is not linear, and the future you seek already exists. Through embodiment, you simply step into alignment with it. Part 3, The Mastery, Embodying Divine Power. Chapter 21, The Master. Pattern. In the heart of a bustling textile mill, Opal stood before her design table, her fingers tracing invisible lines that seemed to emerge from the fabric itself. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the dusty windows, she noticed how her most successful patterns appeared not through conscious planning, but through surrender to an underlying rhythm. You, like Opal, are surrounded by patterns that whisper of a greater order. The universe operates through precise mathematical sequences, sacred geometries, and cycles that mirror the deepest truths of existence. When you align with these natural rhythms, what others call luck or coincidence reveals itself as divine law in action. Watch how Opal's awareness shifted where others saw random threads. She recognized the Fibonacci sequence hidden in flower petals. Where others noticed only color combinations, she perceived the golden ratio expressing itself through her designs. As she surrendered to these universal patterns, her work began attracting attention from buyers across continents. Not because she sought success, but because she had aligned with creation's inherent blueprint. In the quiet corners of a city park, Rufus faced his chess opponents with a new understanding. For years, he had approached the game through pure strategy and calculation, yet victory eluded him until he learned to feel the pulse of each match, to move pieces not when logic dictated, but when the energy felt aligned. You see, beneath the surface of every circumstance lies a sacred timing, a cosmic orchestration that moves according to laws beyond human reasoning. Just as Rufus discovered that his best moves came from a place of intuitive alignment rather than mental force, you too will find that your greatest achievements emerge when you attune to the universe's natural flow. The teachings of the ancients speak of this truth. What appears as chaos to the untrained eye is actually perfect order, expressing itself through divine mathematics. Every challenge, every triumph, every apparent setback follows a precise spiritual sequence, one that becomes visible only when you step back and observe the larger pattern. Sacred. Practice pattern recognition. Take a moment now to identify one recurring pattern in your life, a situation, relationship dynamic, or circumstance that keeps appearing in different forms. Rather than viewing it as random or unfortunate, ask yourself, what is the higher order expressing itself through this pattern? Write down your pattern and then sit in silence, allowing your inner wisdom to reveal the spiritual principle at work. Perhaps a pattern of delayed opportunities is teaching divine timing. Maybe recurring financial themes are showing you lessons about trust and abundance. Name the higher order you discover. This namming is an act of power transforming what once seemed like chaos into recognized divine law. Chapter 22, The Quantum Choice. In a dimly lit room filled with crackling wires and blinking lights, Gloria sat before her switchboard, connecting calls between strangers. Each time she plugged in a line, she felt the subtle pulse of possibility. The way lives could change through a single connection. Yet it was in the quiet moments between calls that she began to notice something extraordinary. When her mind wandered to thoughts of leaving her secure position to pursue her dream of opening a flower shop, her body would tingle with an electric awareness. These sensations grew stronger with each imagining, as if some unseen force was responding to her contemplation. The universe speaks first through feeling, and Gloria's inner knowing was becoming impossible to ignore. You too have felt these quantum whispers, moments when your entire being resonates with an unrealized possibility. These are not mere daydreams, but glimpses into parallel realities that already exist, waiting for your conscious choice to make them manifest. Milton understood this truth. Each morning he stood behind his pharmacy counter, measuring precise doses of medicine, while an inner voice grew louder despite his family's expectations and years of building his reputation. He felt called toward a different path. The day he finally walked away from his pharmacy to become a wilderness guide, the air itself seemed to shift around him. His decision had literally altered the fabric of his reality. These moments of choice are sacred thresholds. Each time you stand at such a crossroads, infinite timelines stretch before you. The version of reality you experience is determined not by chance, but by your willingness to align your actions with your highest vision. Your power lies not in what you know, but in what you dare to choose. Every postponed decision keeps you suspended between possibilities. Yet, when you finally step boldly in the direction of your truth, the universe conspires to support your courage. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to sit in silence, breathing deeply as you center yourself in the present moment. Bring to mind one significant choice you've been avoiding, one that makes your heart race with both fear and excitement, for this emotional response signals its true importance to your soul's journey. Write this choice on a piece of paper, letting the physical act of recording it serve as the first step in making it real. Within the next 24 hours, you must take one tangible action that moves you toward this new timeline. No matter how modest that step may seem, even the smallest movement forward holds immense power when aligned with divine intention. Remember, the universe responds not to wishes but to movement. Your action, however small, is a signal to all of creation that you are ready to claim your chosen reality. By taking this sacred step, you demonstrate your trust in the infinite wisdom that guides all things and your willingness to participate in the grand dance of manifestation. Chapter 23, The Field of Infinite Response. In the golden age of silent cinema, Lillian stood before the cameras day after day, expressing volumes. Without uttering a word, her gestures and expressions told stories that touched hearts across continents. Yet, it was in the quiet moments between scenes that she discovered a truth far more powerful than any role she had played. One morning, while waiting for the crew to adjust the lighting, Lillian sat in peaceful contemplation. Instead of rehearsing her next scene, she simply held in her heart a feeling of deep gratitude. To her amazement, the typically chaotic set began to flow with unusual harmony. Equipment that normally malfunctioned worked perfectly, and scenes that usually required dozens of takes came together effortlessly. You see, the universe operates as an infinite mirror, reflecting back not just your physical actions, but the invisible vibrations of your inner state. When you understand this principle, you begin to see that your unspoken energy carries more creative power than your loudest declarations. Bernard, who delivered milk in the early hours before dawn, discovered this same truth through his daily rounds. At first, his route was merely a job until he began experimenting with his inner state. He chose to radiate joy regardless of the weather or hour. Soon he noticed remarkable changes. Houses that had kept their lights off now illuminated his path. Stray dogs that once barked aggressively began to wag their tails in greeting. Even the bottles in his cart seemed to clink more musically. This is not coincidence, but cosmic law. The universe is not a passive backdrop to your life. It is an intelligent field that responds to your dominant frequency, like a musical instrument that resonates with nearby sounds. Reality attunes itself to your inner symphony. Sacred practice. For the next 3 days you will conduct an experiment in conscious resonance. Choose one emotional state, perhaps peace, joy, or abundance, and maintain it deliberately throughout your day. This is not about forcing false positivity, but about holding a genuine frequency regardless of external circumstances. Keep a small notebook with you each evening. Record the subtle ways the world mirrored your chosen state back to you. Notice the small synchronicities, how strangers respond, how situations unfold, how the very atmosphere around you seems to shift. Remember, you are not testing whether the universe responds. You are discovering how it responds. This practice will reveal that your silent intention shapes reality more powerfully than any outer action ever could. Chapter 24. The Identity Shift. In a dimly lit theater on the edge of town, Maud sat at a typewriter, transcribing mundane legal documents by day, but as evening approached, she would transform into Victoria Sterling for her role in the local production. At first, it was merely a name on a playbill, yet something extraordinary began to unfold. The moment she answered Victoria, her shoulders straightened. Her voice carried across rooms with newfound authority. Even her handwriting became more elegant. When the show ended, Ma noticed these changes persisted. She had unknowingly stepped into a new version of herself, and the universe responded accordingly. You see, names hold power, not because of their sound or spelling, but because they represent identity, the foundation from which all creation flows. What you call yourself, even silently within, becomes the blueprint for what manifests without. Your identity is the invisible architecture that shapes every outcome in your life. Consider Norman, who repaired boots in a small shop beneath the elevated train. For years he thought success meant working harder, advertising more, or reducing his prices. Then one morning, while polishing a worn leather sole, he glimpsed his reflection in the shine and saw not a cobbler, but a master craftsman. He began thinking of himself as an artisan who served a distinguished clientele. He changed nothing about his technique, yet everything shifted: his posture, his way of handling the leather, the very atmosphere of his shop transformed. Within months, bankers and businessmen sought him out. His prices tripled, but his waiting list grew longer. The universe simply matched his inner identity shift. This principle remains true across all dimensions of life. You do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. The outer world arranges itself to match your inner self-concept with flawless precision. Change your identity and reality reshapes itself accordingly. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to craft a character sketch of your future self, creating a vivid portrait of the person you are destined to become. Write it in present tense as though this version of you already exists, breathing life into this higher manifestation of your being. Include not just outer achievements, but inner qualities, how this self thinks, moves, speaks, and Feels detail the way they carry themselves through life, how they interact with others, the energy they emanate, and the impact they leave in their wake. Choose one trait from this description and begin embodying it today, not as an act or performance, but as a genuine expression of who you are becoming. Let this new identity take root in your being, nurturing it as a gardener tends to a precious seed, and watch as the universe conspires to match your transformation, for as you align with this elevated version of yourself, reality must by divine law reshape itself to mirror your inner evolution. Chapter 25, The Mystics. Discipline. In the monastery kitchen before dawn, Winifred moved with quiet reverence. Steam rose from her pots like incense, and each vegetable she chopped became an offering. She understood that cooking was not merely about sustenance, it was an act of devotion. As she stirred the morning porridge, she whispered ancient prayers, passed down through generations of her family. When you approach any task as sacred, the universe responds in kind. What others saw as mundane work, Winifred recognized as holy ritual. She knew that angels gathered where intention was pure. Soon visitors began speaking of an inexplicable peace that filled them. After eating in her kitchen, the monastery garden yielded more abundant harvests. Even the mice seemed to respect the sanctity of her space, never touching the stored grains. Through consistent devotion, you create a channel for divine energy to flow. Your commitment to treating each moment as sacred transforms ordinary spaces into temples of manifestation. This is the hidden power of discipline, not as a rigid framework of rules, but as a declaration of devotion to your highest purpose. Consider Eugene, who cleaned the marble floors of the city's grandest building, while others saw him as just another janitor. He knew differently with each stroke of his mop. He spoke blessings into the gleaming surface. May all who walk here find peace. May success flow to them freely. May light guide their path. One evening, as Eugene blessed the executive floor, the company's director lingered unseen in the shadows, moved by Eugene's dedication and the energy he brought to his work. She recognized something rare, someone who understood that all labor, when done with love, becomes a prayer. The next day she offered him position managing the building's operations. The universe always witnesses your private devotions. When you treat each action as a ceremony, even the simplest task becomes a gateway to greater possibilities. This is the essence of spiritual practice, not what you do, but how completely you show up for it. Sacred practice. The mystic morning. Create a 15-minute dawn ritual that honors your connection to universal power. Begin in complete silence, allowing your breath to slow. Express gratitude for 3 specific blessings. Visualize your highest vision while placing your hand on your heart. Complete the practice with 7 deep breaths, each one drawing in divine light. Perform this ritual daily, treating it not as routine, but as a sacred appointment with the infinite. Chapter 26, The Timeline. Collapse. In the bustling telegraph office, where messages crisscrossed like threads of fate, Clarence carried his leather satchel with dutiful precision. For 15 years, he had delivered countless telegrams, births, deaths, fortunes made and lost, yet never paused to wonder if any message might be meant for him. Until that autumn morning, the telegram felt different in his hands, though he couldn't say why. As always, he refrained from reading its contents, a courier's sacred trust. Yet, when he arrived at the designated address, he found himself staring at his own childhood home. Long since abandoned, the message read, "The time is now. You already know what to do." In that moment, Clarence understood that every step of his life had led to this revelation. The universe had conspired to deliver him to himself without hesitation. He withdrew his life savings, and opened the bookshop he had dreamed of for decades. What had seemed impossible for years materialized in days. You see, when inner knowing becomes absolute, the gap between desire and manifestation collapses. Time itself bends to accommodate unwavering belief. This is not mere wishful thinking, it is the law of divine timing, yielding to the power of decisive consciousness. Consider Delilah, who worked endless night shifts at the city hospital. Though her uniform was worn and her purse empty, she carried herself with the grace of inherited wealth. She spoke, moved, and thought from the energy of abundance. When patients asked about her apparent joy, she would simply smile and say, "I am already blessed beyond measure." 3 weeks later, a letter arrived, revealing an unknown great-aunt had left her entire estate to Delilah. The inheritance didn't create her wealth consciousness. Her wealth consciousness created the inheritance. Sacred practice. Sit in absolute stillness, letting your breath settle into a natural rhythm. Identify one goal you've been postponing, making excuses for, or believing must take time to manifest. Perhaps it's the prosperity you've dreamed of, the relationship you long for, or the career advancement that calls to your soul. Now, with the full authority of your divine nature, the same power that moves mountains and shapes destinies, declare aloud with unwavering conviction, "I collapse the timeline, I choose it." Now, feel the power of this declaration resonating through your body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Let it vibrate in every cell, knowing that the universe bends to the will of decisive consciousness. Then perform one symbolic action that represents your immediate claiming of this reality. If it's abundant, place a single coin in a special box while seeing it multiply 1,000-fold. If it's love, set an extra place at your table and feel the presence of your beloved already there. If it's successful, sign your name with your future title, knowing it is already yours in the eternal. Now, let this action seal your declaration in the physical world, bridging the gap between the spiritual and material planes. Chapter 27. The reality architect's rituals. High in the mountains where wind and stone conversed in ancient tongues, Silas worked his craft. Each morning he would climb to a new peak, carrying only his tools and an inexplicable urge to build. His hands moved with purpose, stacking stones into small altars that seemed to whisper to the sky. You possess this same creative power, the ability to shape reality through sacred ritual, just as Silas transformed mountainsides without understanding why. Your deliberate actions carry seeds of manifestation even before you grasp their full significance. The universe responds to pattern and intention. When you infuse physical acts with spiritual purpose, you encode your desires into the very fabric of existence. This is not mere symbolism, it is the architecture of transformation. Watch how Nora discovered this truth. Each night, she would carefully write her dreams of abundance on small pieces of paper, tucking them beneath her pillow with reverence. She didn't question the practice, she simply knew it felt right. Within 7 days, her supervisor called her into the office. "Your work has a certain quality," he said, "something I can't quite name." Her salary doubled that afternoon. You see, ritual is not about superstition or repetition. It is about creating channels through which universal energy can flow. When you establish sacred habits, be they morning prayers, arranged crystals, or blessed water, you are building bridges between thought and form. These bridges, once established, become permanent pathways for manifestation. This is why ancient cultures understood the power of ceremony. They knew that physical acts performed with intention could reshape entire realities. Sacred practice. Choose one daily ritual that will represent your emerging reality. This might be arranging 3 objects on your windowsill each morning, tracing a symbol in the steam of your morning mirror, or placing a specific coin in a special box while speaking your intention. The form matters less than the meaning you invest in it. Let your intuition guide you to the practice that resonates most deeply with your spirit. Perform this ritual at the same time each day with complete presence. As you engage in your chosen ceremony, feel the weight of ancient wisdom flowing through your movements. Each gesture becomes a declaration to the universe, a moment when time stands still and your consciousness merges with the infinite. Let it become a sacred moment when you declare to the universe, "This is who I am becoming." Continue for 21 days without interruption, knowing that each repetition deepens the groove of transformation in the cosmic order. Like water flowing over stone, your consistent practice carves permanent channels through which manifestation can flow. Trust that the universe recognizes and responds to your dedicated ritual, aligning circumstances to match your unwavering intention. Chapter 28, The Sovereign Awakening. In the mist-shrouded tower where sea meets sky, Elmer tended his lighthouse with unwavering dedication. Each evening, as storms gathered on the horizon, he would climb the spiral stairs to light the beacon, yet always he waited for permission. A call from the harbor master, a signal from shore patrol, an authority beyond himself to validate his timing. You too may recognize this pattern in your own life. How often have you waited for external approval before taking action? How many times have you dimmed your light seeking permission to shine? The truth that transforms lies in understanding. You are the authority you seek. Within you burns the eternal flame of divine sovereignty. This power was never granted, it has always been yours, waiting to be remembered. Consider how Elmer's awakening unfolded. One stormy night, with communication lines down and ships approaching dangerous waters, he faced a choice. In that moment of crisis, a deeper knowing emerged. He realized the authority to act had always resided within him. As he lit the beacon, guided by inner wisdom rather than external validation, his entire relationship with power shifted. This same power flows through you. You are not a petitioner in the universe, but a creator within it. Your divine inheritance includes the right to choose, to act, to manifest without seeking approval from any earthly authority. Witness Geraldine, who lost her husband to war. For years she waited for the world to grant her peace, seeking comfort in others' words and society's timeline for grief. Then one morning she understood peace was not something to receive, but something to embody. She stopped asking permission to heal. She began radiating tranquility from within, becoming the very peace she had sought. The universe awaits your conscious command. It responds not to pleading, but to knowing, not to permission-seeking, but to sovereign declaration. Sacred practice. Take a blank page and pen. At the top, write declaration of sovereignty. Below, inscribe these words: I do not need to be chosen, I choose. Then in your own voice, declare 3 areas where you reclaim your authority. Speak them aloud as you write, feeling the power of each statement resonate through your being. End with, by divine right, I claim my power to create, to decide, and to act. It is done. Place this declaration where you will see it daily, letting it remind you of your inherent spiritual authority. Chapter 29, The Final Illusion. In a dimly lit theater, Sylvester arranged his marionettes with meticulous care. For years, he had mastered the art of bringing wooden figures to life, believing his skill lay in controlling the strings that moved them. Yet one evening, as shadows danced across the stage, he noticed something extraordinary. Each pull of the strings created an equal movement in his own body. You stand now at the threshold of the deepest truth. What you perceive as separate is unified. What seems external dwells within. Like Sylvester, you have believed yourself the puppeteer of life, attempting to manipulate circumstances, people, and events as though they existed apart from you. The universe does not operate through separation, but through oneness. Every string you pull moves. Every judgment you cast returns home. Every love you offer embraces yourself. This is not metaphor, but the fundamental nature of reality. When Sylvester released his grip on the strings, the puppets continued to dance, moved not by force, but by the same life force that animated him. In that moment he understood. He had never been controlling anything. He was simply playing his part in an infinite dance of consciousness, expressing itself through him. In the story of Zion, the lighthouse keeper's daughter, we witness this same awakening. Night after night, she searched the horizon for ships to guide home until she realized the light she sought to share was her own nature. She had never been separate from the light, never lost, never searching. She was the light itself. Remembering its radiance, you are not a fragment seeking wholeness, you are wholeness expressing itself as a seeming fragment. The universe is not vast emptiness containing you. You are the universe, experiencing itself through this precise point of awareness. Sacred practice. Stand before a mirror in complete silence, in a space where you will not be disturbed. Allow your gaze to rest gently upon your own eyes, seeing past the surface reflection to the depths of consciousness within. Breathe deeply and watch as the boundary between observer and observed begins to dissolve, as the artificial walls between self and cosmos melt away. Then, with quiet authority born of inner knowing, speak these words: you are the universe, awake. Let this truth resonate through every cell of your being, feeling it echo in the chambers of your heart and flow through the rivers of your blood. In this simple recognition, this profound moment of remembrance, the final illusion of separation dissolves like morning mist in the warmth of dawn. Chapter 30. When the world becomes you. Agatha lived alone in a cottage at the edge of town, where for 40 years she had sorted other people's dreams, sealed envelopes. Now retired, she walked the cobblestone streets each morning, no longer carrying letters, but carrying something far more precious: absolute knowledge. You see, Agatha has discovered what you are now ready to understand. Reality is not responding to your thoughts, wishes, or even your strongest intentions. Reality is you expressing itself through infinite forms. As Agatha strolled past the bakery, the scent of fresh bread wafted through the air, not because she wanted it, but because she knew it would. When rain clouds parted above her head, it wasn't a coincidence or even a manifestation. It was simply her consciousness taking the form of clear skies. The secret lies not in asking, seeking, or even believing. It rests in the unshakable knowing that you are the source of all your experience. Your world is not reflecting you, it is you in countless disguises. Wallace, the reclusive inventor, spent decades in his workshop, tinkering with machines while hiding from a world he feared wouldn't accept him. But one morning he too touched this knowing. As he finally opened his door and stepped into the sunlight, he found neighbors greeting him as though they'd been waiting all along. The local university requested his presence. Letters of recognition sat in his mailbox, dated weeks before he decided to emerge. This is the final awakening. The world is not waiting to change. It is waiting for you to recognize that you are its creator. Every person you meet, every circumstance you encounter, every moment of synchronicity is your consciousness dancing with itself. Sacred practice. Rise tomorrow as the one who knows. Move through your day not as a seeker, but as the source. Let every word you speak carry the authority of the Creator. Walk not as one hopping for change, but as one who knows the world shapes itself around your certainty. Observe how reality bends to match your knowing, not because it must, but because it is you. For this entire day, eliminate all doubt. Speak from your vocabulary. Replace I hope with I know, I want with I am, I wish with I. Create, watch as the world reveals itself to be what it always was, your own consciousness made manifest. Let each thought be a declaration of certainty, each word an affirmation of your creative power. When challenges arise, meet them not with hesitation, but with the unwavering knowledge that you are the author of your experience. Notice how differently people respond when you speak from this place of absolute knowing, how circumstances arrange themselves to match your conviction. This is not pretense, it is you claiming your natural state as the creator of your reality. Conclusion: through these chapters, you have traversed the ancient path of remembrance, from seeker to seer, from dreamer to creator. The veils that once clouded your vision have dissolved, revealing a truth that has always resided within. You are not merely experiencing reality, you are its source. In the silence between these words, a profound transformation has taken place. You have shed the weight of limitation, stepping into the light of your own divine authority. The universe no longer appears as something external to be petitioned or pleased. It flows through you as the very essence of your being. The signs and synchronicities you once sought as confirmation now emerge naturally from your state of knowing. Your thoughts no longer chase manifestation. They are manifestation itself, taking form in perfect divine timing. You have transcended the need for proof, for how can you prove what you already are? This awakening carries with it a sacred responsibility, not a burden, but a natural expression of your true nature. As you move through the world, your presence alone shifts the field of possibility around you. Your knowing creates ripples that transform not just your personal reality, but the collective dream we share. Remember, this power has never been separate from you. It was not granted by these teachings, but simply unveiled through your willingness to remember. You are the answer to every prayer you've ever whispered, the fulfillment of every dream you've held close. Now, as you close these chapters, you step into a world that awaits your conscious command, not through force or will, but through the quiet certainty that you are the dreamer awakened within the dream. Every breath you take is creation itself. Every step you make leaves imprints of divine intention. You have come home to yourself, to the truth that has been waiting patiently for your return. Walk forward now, not as one who seeks, but as one who knows. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective.